Hi,
Hi.
welcome to Track Girl Summer. I'm your host, Natasha, and this is my co host, Corey Carter, and we are bringing the culture to track and field.
Track girl summer. Track. All right, Kovu. Track girl summer. I'm really hoping my iPad's still intact. You know, of course, this is how we started the things. We're good though.
You good?
Yeah,
We
blessed.
ready?
Highly yeah,
Would you like
okay.
to do that over, or we just gonna leave the ratchetness in the production?
Well, now that you discussed it,
We're gonna leave it. Follow me, Natasha Hastings, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Follow the Corey Monster, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Most importantly, follow Track Girl Summer, trackgirlsummer.com, Twitter, IG, YouTube. Oh, I don't have my hat. Buy your hat, your t-shirt, and if you've purchased a hat or a t-shirt, tag us in tag us in the fashions. You know, Corey likes to say, send a black girl some money. Send Track Girl Summer some money, okay? But we'll send products
we'll
in
take
exchange.
the t-shirt right back.
Anyway, we're coming to you with the shenanigans every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, we've been pretty consistent. Yeah, we bring the
We're doing
shenanigans.
a pre-recorded show, so just in case something goes crazy with their schedule.
No, not just in case nothing. I need a break. So we Anyway, let's get to the show. We have an amazing, exciting guest today. Um I almost called him by his nickname, but I'm gonna wait till he's on here. He's gonna tell me not to call him by the nickname that I gave to him in college. But before we get to our guest, we're gonna do a quick fit check. Corey's favorite part of the show.
So the hair is giving Beyonce. It's been growing, guys. I love a little like windbreaker moment. It's just sweatpants underneath, and then come here, baby, come here, baby. The
And
boy
she
said, "Oh,
puts
we doing
Kovu
teal.
in this. Here
We're
we
doing."
go with Kovu in this damn fit check again.
He's giving like a little ascot,
Corey,
and he went to the vet today, so he's on the
why
mend.
why did he go to the vet today? What
He
happened?
needs to get his teeth cleaned, okay? Because smile, baby, smile. You're a little tired. You had a
No,
long day.
Kovu's over you.
This is my best friend. So yeah, Kobus is giving better than you as always. So
I'm just here. Oversized hoodie. I got on some mom jeans. Y'all know I ain't got no shoes on. And that's that.
okay, you ready to bring on our guest?
Are you ready to bring on our guest?
Oh, let me open up my iPad. I like calm down.
Oh, come on, Corey.
We've got a 2012 London silver medalist, Olympic silver medalist, sorry, and a 2011 world champion in the 110 hurdles. I was gonna be like Jason, but I want you to just say his nickname now. Now I'm
I was
waiting.
going to. See, I was going to let you say his name, and then I was going to say the nickname. I feel like we got to do this all over. Like this intro is like all.
Is that what you want to do? Because at this point now, I feel like we have to because you've said it twice.
Yes.
All right, we're starting the whole show over.
No, girl, you better chop and screw this thing.
Me?
Who
If this is
else
what
is
you
doing?
want, you gonna be doing the editing.
Girl, bye.
The girls are fighting. The girls are fighting.
I'm so tired.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Track Girl Summer. I'm your host, Jason Richardson, and we put the culture back in track. I have two guests today, Natasha Hastings and Corey Carter. We're going to discuss a range of topics, and we're going to have a great time. Give me some questions, some feedback, like, subscribe, purchase merchandise, and we're coming to you 3 times a week.
There we go. Jason's about to be the new host.
Okay, now real talk. We have to give you a proper intro. But the fact that you got all of that sitting in the backstage, like, I was like, you know what? Let me just bring him up here and make sure the people are hearing this, because this is the Jason that I don't know if a lot of people know about. Most people especially don't know about Bunky.
Bunky! I thought it was going to be like JJ or something. Bunky!
No.
Okay.
2004 to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, little Bunky.
No, I was still calling you Bunky in 2016. We might have had a couple of off years, but
and then you and Shalonda left me to die at South
Carolina. You know what? Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I don't.
No one can see that.
Why can't y'all see it?
Because it is tiny on the camera. Is this the show? Are we doing the show right now?
Right. I'm trying to figure out what y'all do.
This is the show. Okay, let's be respectful. We have the Daegu world champion in the 110 hurdles, Jason Richardson. Also, the London 2012 silver medalist, Jason Richardson. Was it 2009 NCAA champ or 2010?
8.
Oh, shoot. 2008. My bad. That's right. We were class of 08. Duh.
But I redshirted.
I was class of 10.
Huh?
I was class of 2010. High school, but...
Gamecock, the original USC in the building. I would just like to, you know what? We should actually count. How many Gamecocks have we had on the show so far?
Are you asking me to count? I don't know why I was like Jason was about that. Okay, for it together.
Like 3 of us. Anyway, all right, let's get into the things. Jason, how are you?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm a regular nigga now, so it's a good time.
Okay. Where we just gonna get right into the shenanigans.
Regular is not an adjective I would ever give you.
There's nothing regular about Jason.
There's everything.
No.
Okay, well, let's also start off with, like, where are you now? What are you up to?
I am.
Since you a regular nigga now.
Boom. I stayed in Maryland. My whole family went to Howard. And I came up here for grad school, went to Georgetown, and then I just stayed. Bought a house here. I'm renovating it.
Okay, he's got property.
Renovating with my bare hands. It's a good time. I have a regular job as a mortgage broker, and I'm probably going to start flipping houses at some point and live happily ever after and keep tweeting. That's about it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So, knew you was in grad school, didn't know you graduated. Congratulations.
Dang.
I knew because I checked your LinkedIn last night, but I prepared for that.
You see how my co-hosts be trying to come for me, but neither here nor there. I'm a
the girls
where you are. Congratulations on the new home. I didn't know that men still do, manual labor. Like, okay, you doing the renovations on your own. Congratulations. And you're a mortgage broker? Let me find out. In DC?
Not DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Okay.
I'll probably license in Texas in probably like 2 weeks. And then Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. Like, I think 2 more states. I just can't remember.
How long you been doing that?
Since like January.
Okay. And what inspired that? Because you got your MBA, right?
Yeah. So I got my MBA in sports during the pandemic, and they shut down sports. And, I was like, let's see what happens. So I was just kind of thinking, what else could I do? So like growing up, I would always watch like HGTV with my mom. Real estate is what my best friend Lindsay is into, and her dad's commercial real estate. I always wanted to flip a house, but I never
Can
lived in
we
that
can we
place.
like say who your best friend Lindsay is, or are we just gonna leave her as Lindsay?
My best friend Lindsay is a three-time Olympic volleyball player. She was the greatest setter in the world for a while. We met May of 2012 at a random club in LA. Didn't remember, and then we saw each other again in the Olympic Village. It took a week and a half for us to realize that we had met before, and we were best friends ever since. So,
From the club to the Olympics. I like that.
Okay. You just surround yourself with a lot of great people.
mm,
Um, so back to how you got into this real estate thing. I should also let you, before I let you continue. Jason is one of my friends that like he's an awesome track guy, but this conversation probably is not going to have anything to do with track. But
What are all these track questions?
yes, it would. I love track. I love track.
Corey was like, I wrote down these questions and you're probably going to have to fill them in. And I read them all and was like, yeah, they're great questions, but we're probably not going to go there. But we'll get to some of them. We will.
Got
We
it.
will.
I'm ready.
We'll just forget my work. All right.
No, we're going to get to them. We're going to get to them.
Well, nobody told you class of 2010.
Okay, but now I want to hear, well, like how you left the sports world to go into real estate during the pandemic. And so like the pandemic pushed you into this field and so
Yeah.
now what?
So, like a lot of people who were just trying to get by in the pandemic, I had to pivot and reevaluate. And plot twist, I don't really like sports. Um, I, quiet as it's kept, don't really like track and field. So I got a whole master's in sports because I lived my whole life doing it. But I mean, it's not really my thing. And so that was an opportunity for me to have a real honest conversation and, just explore other opportunities. I'm thankful I made enough money in track where I didn't have to start OnlyFans. And it just gave me some time to
Here's the thing. You didn't have to, but you probably would have gotten a great fan base.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure the lighting would have been right. I'm sure the content would have been creative.
Content creator would be my Instagram bio.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you, Natasha? Calm down.
I am just screaming. Jason, I'm always in awe of you because you're just like, you've always been that person that's like, yeah, y'all think I'm supposed to be this person, but plot twist, I'm really not.
Nah.
And you do it in such a
nonchalant,
but like out loud at the same time. Like
Jason is just Jason.
Jason is just Jason. I haven't heard truer words stated.
Well, I don't speak
anybody
unless
else,
I'm lying.
So, okay. We're a track show. And
I'm a track fan of you. So I have track questions. I don't really care if you don't really like track like that. I want to ask you questions.
Yeah, I'm ready. Love it.
Okay. So I have love for you because you start off just like me, dual hurdler. You went to the short hurdles because you were blessed and you don't have to do 400 repeats in practice.
He still did them though.
But there's a difference.
But I just wanted to be clear that he still did them. Jason talked a lot of mess in college. Because Coach cry out a lot.
Hated that.
But
you definitely been a 400 hurdler. At the time you had the third fastest time ever for the 400 meter hurdles for a high school athlete. You were the world champion in 2000, world youth champion in 2003 in the 110 hurdles and the 400 hurdles. And you're the first person to ever win the hurdles doubles at a major athletics championship. We call it the Queen double, but should we call it the Jason double?
Hold on, hold on, hold
Y'all can call it
But yeah, I want to know how you started hurdling, and I mean, I can guess why you chose 100 hurdles instead of the 400 hurdles, but I would love to know why.
Okay, cool. Started running track because I have older sisters, 6 and 8 years older, and I only started to run track to get into college and pay for school. Um, Fucked around and got good at it, and so then I was stuck with a choice of do I, go to really, you know, smart school with a program I wanted, or kind of do a balance and pick a school where I could run track and have a decent degree path. So I verbally committed to Stanford, and I backed out of that. So Coach Flo and Brooks Johnson give me a hard time about that to this day.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah,
Low light
back
loves
on up.
right.
Yeah, because I think he was at Stanford at the time. And then I went to South Carolina, which may or may not have been a good decision. We will ultimately find out. Then I don't know. I got hurt in college every single year, every solitary year. Some years more than one time. I was only healthy 1 year, and it was the year I won nationals, and that was the year after I redshirted, where I got hurt 4 times. So I couldn't train for the 400 hurdles. I could wing it in the 110s. I needed like a month, month and a half, and I'd figure something out and just run purely off of my crackhead energy. But the 400 hurdles, you can't get around that. So I had to hang up that dream of passing out at the finish line, exhausted, with nothing to show for it. So I gave that up, and I decided to walk off the track after 110s, and the rest is history. So luckily, I just stuck with that, and yeah, 110s. Stick with that. More track questions.
So nonchalant, and then you're like, yeah, just 110 just was the best of the world at this thing, but like it's no big deal. But I guess it's light work when you're a boss, so I wouldn't know that feeling, but I get it. I get it.
You in the 52-second club. Be quiet.
And that was not light work. I had to die for that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just crazy. It's crazy how track works, how the 400 hurdles for the women was down for a really long time. And then out of nowhere, y'all decide to just all hold hands and run 52.
Here's the thing. It's because I really think all of us are crazy because I keep
Yeah.
looking like this is what we doing. I bet, and I
Yeah.
think all of us are like, well, it is what it is. If it's up, then it's stuck.
I think you
So
hit the nail on the head though, Jason, because we had Lashinda on, I think it was last week.
And
Yeah, and she was talking about how she brought up well, someone in the chat actually brought up the new NIL, and she was talking about how she would have been like a regional market athlete because the 400 hurdles wasn't a premier race back then, and now it's like
yeah,
what?
because I think
now we just the girl.
when
Yeah.
I turned pro, the Golden League was over.
Yeah. Or
And so
no,
that's no,
nine,
I didn't
ten.
I didn't turn pro till
Yeah.
2000,
So by 10 it was the Diamond League. You're right.
and that's the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so like the Golden League had the tiered events. So that makes sense. She would have been in a regional or a B race or something like that. Which I mean, that's what's wrong with track and field now, but that's a whole nother
That's actually
podcast.
the conversation that I would like to get into with you.
Sure, it's shitty.
I would. There were things that you
Hell, dude.
said about so first of all, I would like to point out that 2003 at the World Youth Team is where Jason and I met, and I will never forget him doing his interview. I don't remember after which win it was. But Jason said something like, yes, I just wanted to use this as a springboard. And we're all 15 and 16 years old, and we're all sitting in like, now who? Only Jason Richardson would go in his post race interview and say springboard. We didn't have smartphones back then, so we couldn't Google what springboard meant. But anyway, and then, Stanford recruited you. I'd also like to tout that you were in the honors college at South
Why
Carolina.
was I in the honors college?
What you mean, why was you in the honors college?
Who wanted to apply to the honors college first?
I mean, but that's besides the point.
Exactly. So
I joined afterwards.
But let the people know that I'm a petty ass nigga. So you wanted to get into the honors college, and I was like, what the fuck?
She can't do better than me, so I'm gonna get
I'm not gonna be in the honors college. So then we applied to the honors college together, Palmetto Ivy, as it was called.
And you got in and I didn't, and I had to apply my sophomore year.
That's
Take
not
your
true.
spot.
Is that true?
It's true. I did join the honors college, but I didn't join until my sophomore year. But this interview is not about me, it's about you. So you got your degree from the Darla Moore School of Business. Okay. You now have an MBA in sports, and although you have taken an alternate route, what is clear that more than a runner, you have the brains. Okay. And so here at Track Girl Summer,
Yes.
we say excellence is the standard. We don't say it, we believe it. But one of the things that we have been talking about most recently is the athletes seeing more of a share of the pie. And question number one being, is there even a pie to get a share of? And B, is it possible for the athletes to collectivize or bargain collectively in order to make sure that we all get a fair share of the pie? I'm interested to hear your take on things, what you possibly think the sport needs or what you possibly think is wrong with the sport and why you don't fool with it.
Why I don't fool with it.
Well, you said you don't like it, so
yeah. So here's the honest thing. So the ride to the top is always so much fun. It's more fun. It's innocent. It's naive. It's just the best time ever on the way to the top. Once you get to the top, you look down. You realize nothing really changes when you're on the
man,
top.
you was looking down at us peasants. Okay.
No, just as not necessarily, but like you just look at people trying to get to the top, and you don't have the heart to tell them it's nothing like you think it is. So,
I don't know why I have that Dream Girl song stuck in my head now. Take your way to the top, round and around.
Round and around.
But it's always so real.
Okay, copyrights. We don't want to get flagged.
If they can connect my terrible vocals to the Dream Girl soundtrack, they need to flag it because they deserve every coin.
Every coin.
Continue, Jason.
Yeah. But now 13 is when I started kind of falling out of love with track because I realized it kind of had a structural issue. So, I mean, when you say is there money in track, it's a loaded question. There's money in track as an Olympic sport. So, the Olympics are a huge, revenue generator, but it's because of broadcasting deals. And so because of that, when you ask, is track and field as a sport independent of the Olympics, is there a share of the pie? I would honestly say no, because there aren't any broadcasting rights that are large enough for the sport outside of the Olympics to be able to share a large amount to individual athletes. And the argument with that is also exactly how do you do that? Like, what mechanism do you use to divvy up promotional rights to individual athletes? You can do it in other sports where there's teams, where you have a league, there's, groups, that can govern that. But there's only one governing body for track and field. We have a ton of people per event. Some track meets have more events than others. There's just a lot of structural issues with track there's no real way to get the money to athletes. Um, and ultimately, we don't have a union, and that's where we will always lose. Is we don't have a union, we can't come together as athletes, we can't collective bargain, we can't strike, we can't do any of that. And one of the
Is
reasons
it
we
that
don't have,
we can't
no,
fundamentally,
we
or
can't.
we can't
Yeah.
as a people,
We
as the
can't fundamentally.
athletes? Okay.
We can't fundamentally because there is no transparency in our sport. So I don't know what you make. I don't know what the thrower makes. I don't know what the person to my left and right makes. And everybody knows not to say anything because some people know they getting paid too damn much and haven't medaled in 4 years. Some people know that there's a veteran out there who's made every single team for the last the 4 championships we've had, and they're on an apparel contract, and you don't say anything. And so, because nobody knows what each other makes, nobody can have that conversation. People just take their contracts, they take their money. Like Monique said in Precious, I sat my fat ass up. They just be quiet and they just do their jobs, and we never really get any progress. And I applaud anybody that wants to start, these organizations and try and unionize. I'm super supportive of that effort. I just think it's a very uphill battle. Um, and if we can't figure out how to make track and field more enjoyable to watch, there isn't going to be any money to actually give to athletes, which is why sponsors keep jumping and we keep losing meets, and all we have is this raggedy ass diamond league.
Right.
Do you also feel like maybe you said like there is such a discrepancy in what athletes are making, in that
Yeah,
sometimes I feel as though it's also hard for us to be collective because the loudest voices sometimes are talking about things that aren't even relevant. And what I'm
yeah,
saying is
yeah.
that, like, so you'll come to a annual meeting and you're like, this is not even what most of us care
Oh,
about, because you
listen,
came with your little cause and
Well,
you
that's the
demand,
thing to
and
start
then
off. Yeah.
also the people that can enact change are like, I'm good. So
so here's the thing. I went to one of those annual meetings. I think I went to one annual meeting,
can I also, sorry,
and it was,
I just have a problem also with calling it a meeting, because meetings have, I don't know, agendas. Get
listen, listen, let me tell you, I went
They
to an
have
annual
agendas.
meeting.
It's just a matter of do they stick to them.
Right, I went to the annual meeting in Miami because it was Miami, and they were
Oh,
paying
I
for
remember that time. We had a great
it.
time.
I just spent the entire time partying. I didn't go to none of the events, and the reason being because there was nothing getting done at the events. People wanted to come in and grandstand about their personal perspectives on their events and their track, and nothing was getting done. These were all performative gestures. I knew it, they knew it, but I wanted a free room at the Fountain Blue, and that's what the hell I did.
Is that where we stayed?
Yes, we did.
It was
It's the only reason I went.
Jason.
We did
And
stay at the
then I
Blue.
ripped my
We
pants in
did.
KOD because the stripper spit my legs open too quick.
We had a good old time in Miami.
Did
But
I
I
leave
just
the club? No.
no,
I
you did
stayed
not.
and held. I stayed in KOD and held my pant leg the whole time. What you mean? Are we about to leave? No, I'm gonna get this breeze in the club and we gonna have a good time.
And let me just say, this fun that we had as professionals is the same type of fun that we had in like. But I listen, we got the job done too, though. But
Right.
I also want to add to that I think a lot of the problem is there's a couple of things that I think is the problem. If we're starting off with USATF is an NGB that governs everything from professional track down to your bantam runner and masters and road running and this and that. And people hear, oh, USATF just got this contract, $100 million from Nike, without factoring in that means that $100 million is actually split amongst all of those things. And why is it split amongst all of those things? Because the elite athletes, when it's time to have representation in the rooms to vote for those things, because I'm good, I don't go in there and vote for it. And the youth and the masters and the this and the that, they show up and vote for the things and they get a bigger piece of the pie. That's number one. Number two.
And to be clear, who is bringing in that $100 million?
That's clear. That's fine. But
You know what I'm saying? It's the elite that.
But that's the point that you're getting to. You're about to do the exact same thing that at the point that I'm about to make. We can't ask for things. We can't go in a room screaming for things if we don't understand how a process works. And at the end of the day, the USATF is an NGB, and it's set up to run a certain way.
Well, give more of an explanation to that. It is the national governing body. It is to govern. Mm-hmm. We are asking USATF to do more than it is actually.
That it is set up to do.
It is to govern, to regulate, and one thing I did take away when we would have some of these meetings is that the membership dues actually account for a larger part than I realized. Because as elite athletes, we don't care. Mm-mm. We do the membership dues so we can go to USA's, but all the stuff they do, all these events and stuff, each one of them kids is paying their membership fees. So, you know, that's why when you separate your revenue from your TV, that's a separate issue. Mm-hmm. But because there isn't a lot of revenue from TV, it's membership dues, and there aren't that many elite athletes in comparison to the pure volume of all the other events. Yep. So the governing body is to govern the larger population, which is comprised of far more than elite athletes. We bring in the elite, money as far as TV and viewership, but
even that, we weren't bringing in money because up to a few years ago, we were actually paying to be televised. So money that was supposed to be coming in was actually going out. So the business of it in itself was backwards. So again, when we're screaming, I want a piece of the pie, what fucking pie?
Right.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Jason, because we're talking about the business side of track at large, as a sport. But you did a Spikes article where you talked about your biggest challenge, and you said it was the business side of track and field for you personally. And I would love to know, about that struggle and how you figured your way through it.
So this is what I will say. I was not successful at figuring out the business of track and field. I don't feel guilty because it's not set up. It's not set up for me to be successful. So when I moved out to LA, I found a great coach that he and I were able to work together, and I was able to PR, break records, and win medals. He is a Nike athlete. I was a Nike athlete, and that was perfect at the time. The second I no longer was a Nike athlete, I no longer could train with that coach. Mm-hmm. And because there is a kissing contest between Nike and Adidas, they leveraged the fact that I had a Nike coach during my option year to offer me more than $100,000 less. Mm-hmm. Adidas was offering to switch. And I don't run an event that is a high-profile premier event. I don't have $100,000 to spare in my contract every year. I'm not running 100, okay? I'm not making, 25 stacks in the B race of one of these Diamond Leagues. I got to win the Diamond League. And I just made a decision to switch to Adidas because it was a tax bracket difference. And in doing so, I no longer could train with my coach. And I spent the rest of my career trying to find a coach that had the right fit, and I wasn't successful. Got hurt. I still ran fast here and there, but I just wasn't able to do that. And I just think that that's kind of how the sport is set up. It's not set up.
The broken business model.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
I want to also add, because you say you weren't in a premier event, but you were in a hot
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing. I think about that all the time. Like I was never the headliner at any event at any point in my career. To be on the all-time list and to have these medals is great, and I'm super thankful because I literally like snuck that. Like I snuck it from a nigga. In Daegu, like in Daegu, literally you had the current world no yeah you had the current record holder, you had the former record holder, and you had the American record holder. Like they went 1287, 1288, and 1289, and I was just out there running my little 13-1. Oh, but God. But if you had the right place, at the right time, and I just was minding my business and just pulled that out, and then Aries and his crazy year that so Aries in his crazy year, I just got my silver medal and I enjoyed that and we had a good year. But yeah, it was exciting to watch, but it still didn't translate to them paying us. And then there
Yeah.
was David. Everybody loved David. And I realized this at one point, another flawed premise of USATF. They used athletes that did not look like their events. So at one point, their three go-tos were Michelle, Allison, and David. Michelle is the most shapely thrower that has ever existed. Allison looks like she does fucking hot yoga. And David looks like he's in the NFL.
only Jason Richardson would color that picture for you that way. Okay.
But honestly, like, they did not look like their events. They didn't look
No,
like
I
their
always say
events.
that David looks like he needs to be someone's linebacker, and actually he was at one point. I don't think he was a linebacker. He was a
Like, that was not representative of anything that you would see. Like, it was just crazy to me. And then, like, and throw in Eric Kennard, who, of course, looks like Kobe. It's just funny how we arrive at these conversations of what's wrong with track and field. I just feel like there's just no transparency, no honesty. It's just crazy.
But I have to say though, like, yes, Michelle is the most shapely
Shapely.
thrower, but she was also the most dominant U.S.
Right.
thrower.
So
Like,
that's the thing.
let's be clear,
All of them
all of them
rightfully
balled
so. That's the
in
thing.
their event.
The argument is never that they should not have been used because all of them were the best in their
Rightfully
event
so.
by
Right.
far. The issue that I always had is that there was no diversity of these stories being presented. Like,
Why we're having
you know,
taco salad.
where was Jet, who was so strong she looked like a fucking turtle? That's what they look like in the 100. That's what they look like in the 200. There's women with muscles. You know what I mean? Like where were other events? Like it's just I just wish that there were more people that were spotlighted. It's instead of the same handful that were clean cut, vetted, would never say anything wrong. It just
Got vetted, and I think a part of the same machine that you talked about earlier with, there's the Nike has the stronghold over the sport.
and that's
And
why. So
that's where the dollars are going to go.
we're gonna talk about Sha'Carri for a minute. And
Corey doesn't want to talk about her anymore, but this is your show. You do whatever you want to.
I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to end up in no Twitter beef.
I don't want no smoke.
I got plenty of time. I noticed from some of the track circles how interesting that was because the response outside of track is what I wish USATF would pay attention to. Like stop giving people these aspirational like ornaments to aspire to. Like that's not real life. Like
I agree.
people know life is a little bit more messy. So, Sha'Carri admittedly, has a unique story and people responded to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people respond to different stories.
I think a lot of people saw them. If you didn't see yourself in the Sha'Carri, you said, "I know that girl."
Yeah, we all know that.
And I think that's what resonated with people, and it's relatable. And I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with her. and rightfully so. So I'm glad we had this conversation because I feel like I want to have
I don't
conversations.
think Jason got to what he was really trying to say, though.
Oh,
No, that
sorry.
was it. No, that was it. I mean, because I kept one ear out. I mean, the whole Allison and her thing. I mean, that ain't worth talking about because I was running off at the mouth on Twitter about that. But I mean, we all know we know those type of people. We know, you know, the
And we
good and
love
the
those type of
bad.
people too. Like
Everybody,
they're
and we
they're
love them
people in
for
our
it.
daily lives.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying in that, like, when I think about the stories that USA Track and Field, and for the greater part, like when we go to the Olympics, you know, there's the packages of the media, and it's like this is a story that they're gonna tell. You're right that it's like the same people pop up, but I also would say I think those people also were dominant in their sport, and I think that what's the word I'm looking for? Like they what's the word I'm looking for? It's like you know what you're gonna get with those people, so I feel like they're a safe bet, and I feel like that's also part of the reason why. But I do
Yeah,
agree with
absolutely.
you that, and I feel like that's the reason. One of the reasons we started this show is like we wanted to be a platform. I'm like there are so many dope stories in track and field that do not get told, and so many people that like it's funny. We were talking to someone, they're like, why are you limiting yourself to just track athletes? Don't you think you're gonna run out of people to talk to? And I'm like, no, there's literally
Yeah.
like hundreds of us. And I think that's what's beautiful about our sport is that you have people from all different backgrounds, all different body types, and we all kind of mesh together and make track and field. I always find it funny, like when I was in college and we'd be in the airport and people were like, what sport are you? Because you have the tiniest of girls and the skinniest cross country guys, and then these Amazonian high jumpers and these big burly throwers. And I think that's what's beautiful about our sport is that we are so multifaceted, and there are so many stories, and there's something for everyone to relate to. But if you keep telling, you're right, if you keep telling like just one story, you're only
Right.
going to reach one demographic.
So with that being said, though, what would you do different? What is it that you think that USATF could do differently about who they're putting forward, and I guess how they're handling the Shikaris?
I think that essentially with limited resources, you have to be more mindful and more purposeful with how you distribute them. So again, you should have your safe, your guaranteed people. You know, put your Allisons up front, put your Davids, your Michelles. I don't even know the new ones now because, like I said, I don't really care like that. But like, have your safe bets, have your dependable ones.
It's your
But
Sydney's, Brad Benjamins, your
yeah,
Michael Norris.
Sydney, Sydney, if she's not. And then just carve out a separate space that you put resources into getting new faces and not the new faces that won, nationals, new faces, the up and comings, like, they'll know, like, we know the people who are fun on the circuit. We know the people that should be on the
Mhm.
reality. We know people that we wish were actually, being interviewed. And USACF should just try and keep a pulse on that and try and promote those people as well. Like I always wanted Francina to do something because she was crazy and it was fun. And I never knew what the fuck would come out of Francina's mouth.
As hell. Hmm.
Like
Do
yeah,
you think that
pre-recorded
it's
of
on?
course. Francina's crazy, but yeah, like put Francine on the camera and see what happens.
Do you think that it's only on USA Track and Field? Like, I feel like as
So
athletes,
that's the thing.
in a age of social media when you can be your own platform, like I think times are changing where it's like I don't have to wait for USA Track and Field to pick me. I
Mhm.
can, start promoting myself. I feel like Lolo is like the blueprint of that, of like pushing out content on your own platform.
Yeah, so I think Lolo is both a success and a cautionary tale. Um, I could be speaking out of turn, but having spent time in LA, and I've had a marketing manager at some point. It's incredibly hard to be a full-time athlete and do all this stuff off the track. Like it just is. There's no rest and recovery. You know, you have to fly to New York to do this event, fly to do this, and it takes away from training. I don't know that many athletes who are able to both be public figures off the track related to their event and successful in their event in track and field.
Bruh,
And
I don't wish it on my enemy because it is a grind.
it's hard. It's really, really hard. And so because track and field is not as popular of a sport, it takes an extra effort outside of the events to drum up that public support in order to get cashed out and flued out. And you got to go to training. And so that's where it's tough, is because the argument I've said earlier is that it's not USATF's job, which I do fully believe. And then I say, hey, let's defer to the athlete, but it's hard to make that an additional job for the athlete. So it's just a clusterfuck, to be honest. It's hard.
I feel like it's funny because I know, like, you're like, I realize that I really don't love sports so much, but I feel like you could be such a great resource because maybe there's a gap that needs to be filled. Like there's a need that needs to be filled that like
There's a total gap. So I always thought that I would be a benefit at some of these meetings because I would love to tell these athletes, like, hey, I slept on a couch when I left South Carolina for a full year because it took so long for my contract to get negotiated. And I had won nationals in '08 and had got second in '09.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping on somebody's couch. The first contract they gave me was like 35,000
In LA.
in LA, where OnlyFans and Just for Fans did not exist at the time. My meets would have been everywhere. But, I made it through that, and then I had to win a whole world championship to start making six figures. And then from there, I was able to live comfortably. But I've been on the bottom and I've been close to the top, never financially, but that's not the point, but top of the sport. Like, they're two different worlds. Nobody understands the transition between the two, but I can't go into those meetings and actually try and speak to that because, like y'all mentioned, the meetings don't have structure and they're not really.
But that's the thing is like and me and Tasha have talked about like we need to do a show on like breaking down the business side of track and field because I feel like especially in the social media age where like y'all think that like I feel like these young kids they think that they think that track and field is real and what I'm saying when I say track and field isn't real, what I mean is that like I feel like track and field is a moment in time where you get to play and like live this dream life. And then at some point, your body gives out on you and you have to deal with real life and reality because track and field to me is a job, not a career. Like, unless you are Usain Bolt, you are not retiring off of this. And then I also feel like social media is real. And so you see stuff on social media and you're like, oh, you're getting gear all the time. And like, you're living the life. And it's like, some of these athletes are only getting gear. So that's all they can post is gear. You know what I'm saying? And like, gear does not feed your family. It does not pay bills.
Right.
And when you said I wasn't equipped for the business side, it was like, of course you're not, because they're not teaching you in college, hey, this is what an agent does, and this is how much you need to pay your agent. This is how you find an agent. And they're not telling you this. I had no idea how the Diamond League worked.
I disagree to an extent. And
I do too. But for a whole separate reason, I'm sure.
But I wonder if we have the same separate reason. I disagree because I feel like while they are valuable conversations, the young ones don't want to hear it. They're not going to listen to it. They're not interested in it. There's a handful of those who will, but the majority will not.
And I feel like when I talk to kids,
also, when we have these conversations, look at who is having these conversations? And by that, I mean us Black people. Notice the white people ain't in the annual meeting screaming about money this, money that. And I say that because they're having the money management conversations as early as middle school and high school in their
As an
families.
extension,
And
as an
to
extension of
expect that
that,
we're going to learn that in college,
distance runners were getting paid
wait,
handsomely well
well,
before they started actually winning medals.
And what I
talk
also
about
say is
it.
they don't have as many expenses because if you join a, X whatever track club, you don't have to pay for a coach. The track club pays the coach. You don't have to pay for medical. You guys have a massage therapist that comes to your y'all have training camp. Oh, y'all, it's sponsored, and so you don't have as many out of pocket expenses.
Well, here's the issue that I don't think a lot of people think about when we talk about how it's structurally flawed. Natasha does not have a product for people to purchase because she runs track and field. Corey does not have a product to purchase because she runs track and field. If y'all were sponsored by the same company, how can they track y'all's impact on the brand?
Hmm.
How do you justify why one is paid more than the other?
Mm-hmm.
We are nothing more than billboards. We don't have a shoe. We don't have apparel. So they just get to make up these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do they know? What social media has done is it's provided some metrics for them to actually see followings, for them to see, what is the audience that this athlete has as a human billboard. But what that has now done is it's removed the requirement of athletic success because that used to be the only way that you would be on a high enough platform. So now athletes that are attractive, athletes with followings, and we know them on the circuit, people who had ginormous contracts because of things in addition to their talent, and the struggles that they have with that too. They want respect and stuff like that, and that's the struggle that they have with that. But there's so many different layers because you can't track the individual athlete's impact on the actual brand that they're being sponsored by. And when you can't track the money, that again, the transparency, it's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
Younger athletes, like we were kind of towards the end of social media, back in our day, Corey, back in our day. Um, I would be interested to know what would happen with my dreads and my fucking attitude back in 2011 and 12 on a TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
Would it be completely different?
Mm-hmm.
So medals don't matter like they used to. Social media matters, and social media skews younger, and so it's just interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like it's just hard to right the ship when it doesn't even know which direction it's supposed to be going. That was a
Yeah.
word.
That was
That was a word.
that was a Jason word.
Yeah, I don't
Jason.
know where that came from. And I don't even like boats. Boats and hoes.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation, but I think if we're being honest, like
Let's
those
be
those intangibles have always, like, even before social media have played
yeah.
a role
Hmm.
into the finances.
They're
Um,
working.
it's there's a reason why even as a female athlete, I can make comparable money to my male counterparts that a lot of other sport female athletes can't say the same. And it's part of the reasons why is because I'm out here in booty shorts and a crop top. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I think a lot of times these intangibles, while it's like, yes, I want to be compensated for what I do on the track. I want to be known as a beast, as a competitor, but I would be naive to think that, how I look, how I talk, all those things don't don't go into what I'm valued for.
But nobody wants to have those conversations and be honest about it. Like, you know, at all the diamond leagues, you know, at some point, especially after me, you know, when everybody musty and trying to eat, you know, people complain about their lane assignments and because they won this, they should have been in this lane. And and there's so many times where I literally almost bit my tongue off to remind people, like, this is entertainment. We're not out here saving lives. Like, we're not out here teachers. We're not essential workers. Like, this is purely entertainment.
That's why I said track and field is not real life.
It's
As much
It's
as I
not
love
real
entertainment.
it,
life.
It's
And
entertainment, and I feel like sometimes people get it mixed up with human rights too. I'm like, this ain't no. This is a privilege to be out here doing what we do.
it's a privilege to be half naked, running in straight lines and curves and jumping over stuff. Like, y'all gotta knock
in
it off.
Monaco, like I've always been like this. I've always said like I had the funnest job. I get to do what as a child I was doing for fun, and they're paying me to do it. I've always
Right.
thought of it as a privilege and as and let's be honest, like a one in a million chance dream, you know?
And so, with that being said, if it's entertainment, accept the intangibles and lean into them. Don't get offended about it. You know, if you, my thing is like, if you're attractive, be as attractive as you can on track. If you're funny, be as funny as you can. If you just the ugly mean one, then just be the ugly mean one. Like, pick a brand and lean into that. You know, or if your stick is I'm just successful, then just be as successful as possible. But
Try
what
to
I'm
lean into
noticing,
ugly and mean, but
what I'm
unfortunately, my
noticing
bones just keep
with it
poking through. Couldn't be ugly.
with
Just
like
had
the new athletes, I'm noticing with the new athletes, and this is no shots fired per se, but they just don't know the rougher side of the sport, so they want the benefits of being the pretty one or the attractive one, the marquee one, but they also want the benefits of being the most successful and the one that works the hardest and all. Like, the formula's all fucked up. Just pick something and do your best with it because there's equally qualified athletes who don't have the opportunity and you're not really speaking out for them. So just do what you need to do the best at it, and keep quiet in the process.
It's so funny that you said, these younger athletes don't see the rougher side of the sport because I used to really think that I was rough and tough and like, just a freaking warrior. And we talked to Gail Devers, we talked to Mike Powell. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, we ain't we ain't doing
Right
nothing."
there.
Gail talking about how she doing 7, 9 events at conference
They
and
changed the entire format.
And that's
When
what.
y'all talk about the Queen double, again, I think Queen is an incredible athlete. I actually had a conversation with a mutual friend. I don't sleep at night sometimes because she never won a medal because she was honestly that talented.
oh no.
When I ran, you had 4 rounds of everything.
And now these kids got 2 rounds
Now
at
you have 2 rounds,
regionals.
2 days. There's a break in between, like, and then you wonder why niggas is coming out here running 19 too, like,
Yeah, the rest
because
is
you
real.
created, and then it has a snowball effect. So then the athletes have these great times. They knock people out of the USATF meet because they're primed and ready and running Diamond League event type styles. That gets crazy, but again, it's where the money is. So the NCAA system is run better and is more of a functioning business. They realized that there's a different model and that model works better, and they changed it. USATF has a different vision for what they want to do, and what it happens in longer events like y'all are running all the way around the track to knock out 2 people.
Yeah,
Bruh,
come on.
one year we had to knock out one girl to get to
One.
semis, and someone false started in the first round, and I was like, and I still gotta go out here and run because I need a good lane for semis, and I was like, this is insane because everyone's getting through.
Yeah.
I want to go
But
back though to what you said, Jason, about like the model and the metrics, and because I was thinking on it, and I'm like, somehow it always comes back to the mindset. Because thinking back on having Sandra Farmer Patrick, Gail Deaver, and Mike Powell, and back when there was real money in the sport. And, I remember Mike Connolly telling me, like, I used to sell a logo on my uniform for $10,000.
Yeah.
And, like, but they had that hustle too. And they figured out a way to generate the dollars. Whereas I do also feel like this generation almost expects that, like, oh, it's just supposed to come. And I think that that's some of the
Yeah.
non-reality that social media does play a part in. That it's like, oh, we have this whole, I'm going to turn pro out of high school and, think it's just going to happen overnight kind of deal. But I do think the hustle mentality of it all is a lot different too, because they didn't have metrics. The metrics were different back there. Back then. Let me not say they didn't have metrics, but the metrics wasn't.
I think social media is the greatest thing to happen to sports for non-league and non-team based sports. I think social media is the greatest thing ever. And I don't personally want someone to think that, like, I have an issue with social media at all. I think it's an incredible tool. I think it's an incredible tool, but as with any tool, it can be abused and it's double-edged in a lot. So there are overnight successes through social media, but there are also a lot of grinds on social media that people don't see. Um, and I think that ultimately it can be an equalizer. Like, if you really want to become an influencer in track and drum up that following, like, you can do that. A lot of people don't do that. But in the past, you couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
And
so it's just.
I have to disagree with you.
Okay.
A little bit, because while I do think that this new generation is different, I wouldn't say that they don't have a grind, because I've been on.
They do have a grind.
It's just a different grind, because I feel
like that's what I'm saying.
And it's like sometimes it's a matter of working smarter, not harder, because I've seen college kids be like, this is my social media plan. This is how I'm going to take this deal because it's going to get me more visibility, more followers. And I can, instead of having to, make sure I'm top 10 in the world every year, I'm going to get this deal and I'm going to get paid X amount of dollars for doing one picture.
So I think we're all in this.
Yeah, I didn't say.
I think we're all in the same belief that.
You said that they don't have a hustle mentality. I'm like, that's a hustle. It's just a different hustle.
No, they do. Right. So that's I guess this is what begs the question. If you had to if you were confronted with the choice of making a decision to have a larger social media presence or actually win a medal, which one would you end up picking?
In this day and age, it would be the larger social media presence, because the larger social media presence means more money in my bank account.
And I am still that little girl who's like, all I've wanted is
I want to do the honorable thing, and
that's the thing.
But I got bills to pay. I got a kid through college.
It's not an honorable thing. It's, I know who I am, and I am driven by accomplishments, and I like being better than people. Like, that is that's why
you can be better than people on social media.
I don't think there's anything wrong with your mentality. I just think that's a new reality that's been developing that didn't exist in the past. Everybody that ran track was trying to win medals. That is what you were there to do, because the money was connected to the medals. Now people are balancing lives of trying to build platforms while participating in track and field, participating professionally. Some are successful, some aren't, but there isn't this full understanding that we're all in this trying to win these medals. I know some people that were on the circuit who were like, I don't really care. I'm just, I'm out here having fun, posting content at all these different places. And then you had other people who were, using their savings to try and win actual medals. It's just, track is just a weird ass Wild Wild West.
And I don't think either one is necessarily wrong.
Right.
And
I agree.
It's like, you have to know why you're on this track and understand that. And I think there are people like you said, who who are just trying to get a medal, and they will spend their last dollar doing it because they have love for the sport. And some people are like, look, I can use this as a platform to jumpstart something else, and that's what I'm doing. And I don't think there's anything wrong if you know why you're out here on the track and you're honest about it. Like, do you? Like, I'm all about like.
I don't think there's anything wrong with either of it either, but I think my perspective also comes from knowing the grind that I went through and how it paid off, and retroactively or retrospectively looking back on my career, what I did, what I valued versus what was actually valued. I think in this day and age, if you go make the choice, that might be the choice.
If I could do it all over again, I would have went the social media angle.
Yeah.
Like I totally would have. If I think my personality and my priorities in track and field, I would have been a better. I would have been a better fit as an athlete now than I was in the past. So that's why I don't, look at these young people and be like, oh, the
With a
generation.
judgmental eye. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm actually like I'm trying to be like y'all. Like I wish I had those opportunities. So if the fans or whatever are ever interested in, an elderly statesman's opinion on how they should govern themselves, like lean into that social media and win a medal on the side.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know where it's somewhere in the house. I don't even know where the hell my medals are at.
Right. There is a level of like, while we're talking about social media not being real, there is a level of like that's also real though, because I think in a lot of what I was chasing on the track, or am chasing, or whatever we want to call it at this point, is I think a lot of it is like the box that we created to, whether it was someone else created for us to fit into, or that we thought we wanted to fit into, that like, I'm going to do
How old are you?
things.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm 29. I'm like right in the middle of this generation and y'all's generation. Like, and that's why I can kind of see both sides of things.
Well, shout out to Allison, because I don't know how the hell, because
She's still going. And the stuff she's doing now, I'm like, I'm tired for you.
Oh, Shelly Ann too.
But I also, because, okay, so when we talked to Tiana Bartoletta, right? And she talked about having to realize her worth wasn't tied into this contract, this medal, like this value that they place on her, right? And I feel like it's the same beast, just a different animal, in that like you see Sydney crying and talking about how she's looking at how many people how many followers people have, and it brings her to tears sometimes, right? And it's because and how you can read these comments and then now, instead of the contract having your value, it's how many followers do you have is your value. What people say about you on social media, and that's why I say you have to know why you're out here on the track and stick with it, because if you let these outside sources determine your value, you're always going to be undervalued.
Agreed. I mean, you have to know your why.
Like, lean into it, but know that, like, that's what I'm saying. It's not real. Like, if you're gonna lean into social media, lean into it, but know that these followers that you have can, like, Mark Zuckerberg can decide to delete Instagram tomorrow.
There was this defining moment where I was like, am I really gonna try and do this social media? Like, kind of in the middle of my career towards the end of it. And I knew that it required me to post more and put myself out there more and all this other stuff. And I literally decided I did not want to do that. Like, I value my privacy. I just don't care to be that mixy. Like, I know a lot of people think I was an asshole on a circuit. It wasn't really that. I just didn't know anybody. And I don't talk to people I don't know. Like strangers. So like I just didn't really know anybody. And so I just rock with the same people. But, you know, putting yourself out there and sending out, your social media marketing plans and all of that, like that's a huge deal and that's a huge undertaking. But to your point, it's originally all coming from what you determine to be the value that you need in the sport and what you're
And
getting it out of it. It's tough, and you kind of want to know that ahead of time or figure it out as early as possible because that shapes your entire career.
And like I said, you said, you value your privacy, and I think with social media, it's like people, I think they feel entitled to know your business, and like they think that because they follow you, that guarantees you like access to parts of you that you may not want to expose. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, what you see on social media is what I choose to see on social media. That does not mean you know me. That does not mean that you get to comment, like, you get to have an opinion on my, you can have an opinion on my life, I guess, since I put it out there, but that doesn't mean I have to, value that opinion and implement those things into my life. And I worry about this younger generation that didn't grow up without it, and so that they don't know that, like, there can be a separation between like who I am on social media and like who I am as a human being. And I think that's
I,
important
I
to have.
will say, I will say this. I try to catch myself from saying I worry. This is just my personal perspective. I know that the generation before us probably said the same thing in a different way. You know,
Yeah.
like you know, like the older generation wants to talk about, our music and our festivals and stuff
I'm
like that.
worse than
Nigga,
ours.
y'all had Freaknik, nigga. Like y'all had Woodstock. Like, what are y'all talking about? So, all that being said, like, I think that they have a different space that they operate in, and there's a challenge in that space. But they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm
The
not saying it as
generations
like
do.
an old head, like back in my day, this is how we do things, and like I'm worried
Right.
about y'all devil social media. I'm looking at more of like you're seeing athletes having breakdowns, and I think social media plays a huge part of it because people can come at you constantly and give
Well,
you
how
death
many?
threats in a way
Yeah.
that like you'd have to actually write a letter, find my address, and send and postage and send it. And now you can sit on a computer and send it to me. Like, I'm saying, and like I'm genuinely concerned for people's mental. I'm not
Yeah.
like, oh, y'all should do it my way, how we did it.
No,
When
yeah, I
I'm
know
seeing
that.
it is like there are huge benefits to social media, but it can be a very dangerous place. Like, you have people who like are killing themselves over what people are typing. And that's where I'm coming from. Like, not like, oh, this generation's out of hand. It's like, this is something that should be like, people are really putting value into it and making life
I want.
decisions off of
I,
it.
I I totally understand that. Of course, we know like the suicide rate is increased significantly because of social media. I think sometimes my hope is that when you've grown up with social media, that you can navigate it a little bit better than maybe we would handle social media. Like having not had it, um, I do think that it's not as easy to manage as if you've always grown up with it. I know that some of the younger people that I know that have social media, like they really don't be caring about the comments because they know that's just par for the course when it comes to social media. Like when I first got on it, I was like, "Oh, this person actually cares." But the young people, like, you post this to get a desired response. You don't pay attention to the comments. You turn them off when you want to. My only hope is that with athletes being born and bred in social media, that they can have enough tools to survive it. But the breakdowns and stuff are real. But we also knew people that broke down without social media and were struggling with track. It's just people trying to figure out the best way to get
Yeah,
through
I
it.
think what we do is a very like pressure cooker situation with or without social media.
Yeah.
I just feel like it
So
adds to it.
in a perfect world, what would you how would you prefer an athlete to build a brand and be successful?
You asking me?
Yeah. Or both of y'all, I'm asking the track girl.
Here's
Oh,
here's here's the thing. I feel like be you, and that's all you can ask. Like, because what's right for me isn't right for you, and it's definitely not right for Tasha.
definitely. We know that.
Definitely not right. Okay.
What's right for
Um,
us is definitely not right for her.
exactly. And that's on what? Period.
Period.
But that's what I'm saying is like, you have to just like do what's comfortable for you, or sometimes you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, but like do what feels right for you. And that I always feel like for me, I like have to remember not to really care about what's happening right now sometimes, and that like I don't really care about my short-term happiness as much as I care about my long-term success. And that's something that's important to me. Some people are like, I live for the here and now, and so like
Well, I think you need to speak on that at an annual meeting. I think you should be the one to kind of tell athletes when they first get it, or the emerging whatever, you know that.
emerging elite.
Emerging.
Yeah, here's the
I
thing.
think there should be more
I do have
emphasis
a
on
passion.
that.
I do have a passion for like making sure that this next generation of like young athletes like gets it, like understands where the pitfalls are. I'm not trying to tell people how to live their life,
Yeah,
because
because they're gonna
who am
fall.
I? But
They're gonna
like,
do that right there.
like I feel like we all know how the game works at some point, and it's like put the water out for the horses, at least, you know.
I feel you.
Natasha, what would you do?
What would you do if your son was at home crying all
Right on
alone?
the floor.
He would never be at home all alone crying on the phone because I'm not that kind of mama. But learn the business and decide which way you want to go.
Yeah.
Learn what your assets are and maximize those assets.
I think we're all on the same page. I think knowing as early as possible is the biggest thing.
Mhm.
I wish somebody had told me that. But I did make a decision. I wanted to have medals.
Who
And
told you that?
no, I just wish I was
Oh,
told that.
oh,
But I
okay.
made a personal decision. Especially as rough as my college was. Like I was like, if I'm gonna go through hell, I want something to show for it. So I went after the medals, and so I have something to show for it. So that's why when I retired, I have no regrets because I get to tell my grandchildren like, "Yo, granddaddy was that nigga back in 2000."
So will you come back to sports, or do you think mortgage brokering is
I'm probably not gonna come back to sports. Um,
I think you
I
might
mean,
have.
I'm only gonna work till 45. I'm not trying to work the rest of my life. So
okay? So tell us how we gonna support you so that you can retire at 45.
Yeah,
Let me know so I can come work for you and retire in 10 years.
give us the link to the OnlyFans. We'll put it down in the comment section, in the
like,
description
subscribe.
box.
Nah, I just think the secret is just simplifying your lifestyle as simple as possible. Just you know, I put a ton of money down. My mortgage is $807.
That's not bad.
That's impressive.
And then when this is paid off, I'm sitting my black ass here for a couple years.
No more Cartier?
Oh, see, you didn't need to do that. But the beauty of Cartier is that once you buy it, it don't go nowhere.
I need
I
to
stopped
go.
buying. I really stopped buying clothes like that.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep. What's funny is Tasha was like, if this episode isn't an hour long, don't. And I'm like,
And I'm trying to wrap it and you're trying to keep it going.
No, that's why I was literally about to try to wrap it. I was gonna say
So what are
that
our
I thought we were gonna sit
takeaways?
here and talk about Jason Richardson, the athlete, but we got to know him as like Jason Richard, the businessman, the visionary. And I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like you really dropped some insightful stuff about the track and field business, and we got real raw tonight. So I appreciate you. And I'm gonna close it out, Natasha, if that's okay.
I appreciate you too, Bunky.
Yeah, Bunky Bunk. But follow, if you don't do anything, listen, let me tell you something. If you don't do anything, follow Jason on Twitter. Don't follow him anywhere other than because
the man just said he likes his privacy, and now you're gonna send even more people over to the tweets.
Here's the thing is, let me tell you, you say you like your privacy, but on Twitter he be acting up, and he does it on purpose. His tweets are some of the most delightful parts of my day, and I appreciate them. And so follow him at JAI Rich. Follow me at the Corey Monster, and follow Natasha. But most importantly, follow Track Girl Summer. Subscribe, like, send this video, this link to this video to someone who is thinking about getting into the track and field, so they can know what's really up. Because I feel like Jason was dropping gems left and right tonight. And with that being said, Jason, I appreciate you. I know you said that people didn't like you on the circuit, but I always enjoyed you. We always had a good time. I feel like we overlapped just for a little bit, but I always love watching you run, and I feel like
and you always gave me hugs. I'd be like, girl, what? You always do. I'm a hugger. I was like, okay. No, I like that.
I'm gonna get my hugs, okay?
Right, and that's what I like.
But I'm still getting my hugs.
I'm gonna get my
anyway.
I like that.
I'm gonna close this out with Jason. Don't hang up, because I have some questions for you after the show for Track Girl Summer After Dark. And what I will say is thank you guys for watching, and remember, no matter what time of the year it is, it's always a Track Girl Summer, baby. And that was a little preview of Jason's OnlyFans, I guess. He was trying to. Did you see him lift up his little shirt?
I was supposed to get fat when I retired. I'm smaller. That shit is whack.
I love it here.